Accessing mainframe.
Launch authorization received. Countdown sequence initiated.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
Hey. Welcome to another episode of Three Chicks and Flix. Woo! Yes. How are you? Oh my goodness. It seems like I haven't seen you in forever, but I'm really excited about all we have to talk about today. I'm Rhonda, socially Rhonda, also known as the Realtor Premier. I'd like to introduce my two co-hosts and Three Chicks. Let me know you all right.
I am good. I survived a move last week. Hallelujah. But it was a good week. I hate moving, but when you get like really good customer service from everybody that you are dealing with, it's like the AT&T guy got here on time. My TV install guy got here on time and went above and beyond what he was supposed to do. And my moving company was just organized, amazing, and quick. And I feel like I even got decorating advice from my TV guy and the move guy. I was trying to put sectional because it's like a weird, like little angled wall. And I'm trying to fit like one piece on this wall. And he was like, oh my God, just move out of the way. This is going to take all day. And then he like came up with this configuration. I was like, oh my God, I never would have thought of that. Thank you. And then the TV guy was like, well, if you want to get a cabinet on your TV, he started pulling up, I think this would really work well right here. And, where you going to put that clock? Oh, I think you should put it right there. Blah, blah, blah. So yeah. I feel like I made friends with all of my move people.
Wow. So, yeah. That's great. Because, being a realtor, I hear a lot of horror stories when it comes to moving. Yeah. So that is great that you had a great experience all around. What's up with you, Miss Social Butterfly?
I'm doing good. Alicia, it sounds like the moving gods were on your side.
Yes, they were.
Because that could be a very, very stressful time. But all is good. Had a pretty good week. Just status quo, working with all my various clients, National Black MBA, Greg Cole, Rogue Media Group. He's launching a diversity conference in June. I may be working on a project with my cousin, another diversity event. So things are looking good. How about you, Rhonda? How you doing, girl? Are you all right?
I'm great. This was a very interesting week at work. The market is hot, like sizzling on fire, unprecedented. Most of us have never seen a market like this in our career. And this is 21 years for me. But I'm loving every minute of it. So
it's a buyer's market right now or a seller's market right now?
It is a seller's market.
Okay.
So a seller's market is when the ball is in their court, essentially. Inventory is super low. There are more buyers in the market than there are houses to sell them. So,
wow.
Buyers, now interest rates are historically low. Which is in addition to it to help in the seller's market. So now if you're a buyer, if a house is listed for $300, that is the bare minimum. Like that's just a starting point. It's let me offer $290. You need to try starting at like $350 if you want to get that house. It's crazy.
Wow. I think I had a friend of mine say that the inventory was there's only like a 1.3 million places for sale in the country or some ridiculous number. It was so low. I was like, are you kidding me?
So to put it in perspective, like a normal market would be like 6 months of inventory, right? Now we have less like 1.7 weeks worth of inventory.
Wow.
Yeah, I had a friend who just put an offer on a house and he sent me the pictures and I saw the asking price. He goes, yeah, but I'm gonna start here. And in my mind, I'm like, what in the heck? Now I understand because he went well over what the asking price was.
And it's very possible. Yeah. It's also very, people are putting $50,000, $100,000 over and still not winning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
very, very interesting. And of course, it's relative. It depends on the price point. But yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
Crazy. But other than that, I am absolutely wonderful. Having some minor technical difficulties this morning, but we're going to get through this.
amen. Amen.
So let's start with the lineup. Today, we're going to talk about Mahalia, Concrete Cowboy, and a documentary, WeWork, the making and breaking of a $47 million unicorn. And let's start off with Mahalia. Rhonda, what did you think?
Is it Mahalia or Mahalia?
I think it's Mahalia. I think it's Mahalia.
But oh my goodness, I love Mahalia. I actually enjoyed it more than Billie Holiday. I thought it truly kept my attention. I loved her hustle and she was so modest. You know what I mean? And it's crazy how people see things in you that you don't see in yourself. You know, they're like, you a superstar. And she's like, like, I'm not gonna go to Carnegie, maybe. Okay, whatever. You know, like that's a super big deal. And I love, there are so many life lessons in there. Like, for example, you know, just her love life. It's as a career woman, I think you ladies can understand, even though Kim, you're married, but you know, when she was with the preacher, it was like, God, they were together 5 years. And she was like, God, I should have married that man. You know what I mean? But she was so focused. He was like her biggest cheerleader, right? And he was there to support her, but she just didn't marry him. Why? Because she was doing her, right? So a lot of times as women, we kind of choose, you know, some women, they say, okay, I want to start a family, and then they try to get into the workforce later. But then there are others of us that are like, I'm just like getting my career. And then before you know it, time has passed. Maybe that one has moved on, you know, whatever it is. So I would just encourage women that just reminded me that you should always pause to appreciate what's around you and don't take it for granted, because we know how that ended and she never had the opportunity to marry him, right? And that was probably her soulmate. So I really love that. I love her loyalty to her piano player, you know, and I love her loyalty to her friend that she gave her, you know, her hair salon. Like, this is going to be you. She was such a selfless person. And who knew, right? I didn't know anything about Mahalia. I didn't know she was the first person to really break into gospel music, to really put it on the map. But she held those that were close to her, that were her ride or dies from she started. I love that loyalty. She kept them with her. Oh gosh, I could go on and on. Her son, love is love. Oh my gosh, there's so many people, so many children out there that need love. Love is love. Look at that. She just totally you know, embraced him and raised him like her own. He was calling her mom, because I was like, when did she have a baby? And then I put, you know, 2 and 2 together. I said, wow. So there were just so many really, really good moments. It was extremely entertaining, and I would definitely recommend. I would watch that again. You know, some things you won't watch again. I would totally watch Mahalia again.
Yeah, I totally agree. I thought Mahalia, the story of Mahalia Jackson, it aired on Lifetime. It was produced by Robin Roberts from Good Morning America. So she's been really doing her thing behind the scenes. But Danielle Brooks, baby, took us to church. Not church. Church.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I knew who Mahalia Jackson was. I knew some of the songs that she's very famous for. But what a life from a difficult childhood, which I think really spilled over into her adulthood. The fact that she had a very hard time finding love, although she truly deserved it. Like you said, she was married to a guy, married young, and then they got divorced, and then she met the preacher, but they didn't marry, and very heartbreaking for somebody who was so giving and so selfless. Very interesting. A lot of people may not know that she was very good friends with Martin Luther King Jr. And she was the one that inspired him. She yelled out, "Tell him your dream, Martin," which we all now know as the "I Have a Dream" speech. My mother was actually at the march in Washington in 1963. So I grew up listening to that, all my life. And then she was to me, if somebody was to write a book about Mahalia Jackson outside of her gospel roots, that woman was a serial entrepreneur. Can I just hello? She was. I mean, from the first husband where they were gonna make the beauty cosmetic stuff at home, to the hair salon, that woman was brilliant. And like you said, I enjoyed it. I don't know if I enjoyed it more than Billie Holiday per se, but I really enjoyed it. And I started watching the movie late, and I've actually finished it. And it was actually 3 hours because after the movie, Danielle Brooks gave a brief 15, 20-minute interview about her knowing about Mahalia and her perspective about doing the movie and Robin Roberts and things like that. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. What about you, Alicia?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. It was just interesting where she, in the beginning of her career, she faced all these obstacles. Like, when she sung at the church, the guy was like, "Get that jazz out of this church. That's blasphemy." And then when she finally got a chance to work with the singing coach, he was like, "Oh, your voice will never do." And you're telling this to a person whose first single ended up selling 2 million copies, which was amazing. I thought it was a good story, and I know nothing about her life. So I'm with you, Kim. It was interesting seeing the entrepreneurial side of her. But I have a question for you ladies. The husband that died, well, I don't think he was a husband, but the boyfriend that ended up dying, do y'all think he was really in love with her or not?
So first, I thought he had ulterior motives, but I felt like when she was in the hospital and she was being totally vulnerable and transparent about her hysterectomy and everything, and then he just rubbed her feet, I was like, okay. And then what solidified that was when she went to see him, and then she started rubbing his feet. You remember that? So, So I felt like at first I was like, what? But then I was like, well, he really does love her.
See,
it's funny. And
I'm
it's
still
funny.
him.
Really? No, I think I'm in the same boat with Rhonda. I think at first I was like, he's probably just riding on her coattails because of who she is. But I really think he loved her.
I got a question for y'all too. Were they trying to insinuate that her and Martin kind of had were crushing on each other? Because the husband, the second husband, he was like not having Martin over there. So I don't know, was he insecure? But then when they're sitting there and then the way they're just looking into each other's eyes and the gentle touch and I was like,
I'm not aware of that friendship. So I'm kind of with you on that one. I had those thoughts. I was like, were they attracted to each other? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they said Martin was a serial womanizer. So not to say that something happened, but the way it came across, like you said, it kind of was like, And now that you just said, I forgot about to mention, Elisa, you mentioned I think you mentioned the singing coach, that Kenny Leon directed Mahalia. And he actually put himself in the movie playing the singing coach.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Kenny Leon is a really great playwright, actor, just so super talented. So
that was funny though, that coaching session. She's like, la la la, like, What? Okay, if you say so.
Yeah, but that was probably the first movie that I've ever seen. Didn't know anything about her besides, oh, she sung at Martin Luther King's funeral, and yeah. So yeah, I thought it was good. I would definitely give it 5 sips for sure.
5 sips for me.
5 sips. 5 sips. I wish the ending was different though.
Yes.
It ended kind of like how it started, in the sense that they were gathering around, to hear her sing.
Yeah.
But I needed more. I don't know what. So the piano, she had arthritis. Is that what it was in her hand?
The piano singer, yeah, she had arthritis.
Yeah, arthritis. Yeah. I would have liked to see the ending develop a little bit more. Just a little bit more. But overall, again, I agree. 5 sips, totally.
Yeah. Well, let's get into Concrete Cowboy with one of my favorites, Idris Elba. The other main character was Cole, and he was played by somebody McLaughlin. I can't.
Caleb,
yeah.
Caleb.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Concrete Cowboy was based on a book called Ghetto Cowboy, and it was about the Fletcher Street writing community. And basically, it's a group that's been mentoring writers since like the 40s, which I couldn't believe. But I enjoyed it. At first, when it started off, I was like, oh, I have to force myself to get through this. It was so good. I love the story of the son coming to live with the father in the summer. I feel like it was the expected. They were going to clash at first because they really didn't have a solid relationship. But when the son walked in his house and said, "You got a heart in your house,"
like, where they do that at?
The first thing I thought was that house had to smell.
I had to get past that clutter and that nastiness just to watch the movie, but I just really enjoyed the way that their relationship just finally came together. I enjoyed seeing the son finally get on the horse, and there's always the character in the movie that's like, the drug dealer guy, but he had a plan. I was like, oh my God, he had a plan. I was very impressed with that. I'm kind of falling in love with him, but after I saw he had a plan, I said, I know what's going to happen to him. I was like, I know what's going to happen.
So predictable.
Yeah.
And what was interesting about him having a plan is that he had been jaded by the elders in the community, that he couldn't even share with them that he was actually doing. This is why I'm doing this. They were judging him for what he was doing, which rightfully so, right? Because you want better for them. I don't know if it would have made a difference if he said, "This is what my plan is."
I don't think.
What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think it would have made a difference, because I think they were just, some of the minds were just so closed. But what was interesting at the end of the movie, that they actually used some of the real Fletcher Street Cowboys in the movie. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Most of the cast.
Yeah. But I did read this in 2019. The writers from Fletcher Street Stable actually partnered with the Concrete Cowboy filmmakers, and they have a GoFundMe thing that's started since 2019, and to create a nonprofit called the Philadelphia Urban Writing Academy. I thought that was very interesting. But what was the female character? I can't think of her name.
Lorraine Toussaint.
Yes, she was amazing as usual. I love her. I just don't think we see enough of her. But overall, I thought it was a very well-told story. I do have a Ghetto Cowboy in my Audible list. I plan on either reading or listening to it. But I don't know, like the whole cowboy thing and coming from Texas, it's like, I have cousins and uncles who do trail rides. We have one of the biggest rodeos. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was a very touching story. Cried a lot at the end, cried a lot throughout. So yeah, I enjoyed it. What do you ladies think?
Yeah, I mean, I really wanted to point out that they used so many of the original writers in the movie. Like, that was brilliant. Like, they're probably like, no one can tell our story like we can, you know? I wonder what other underground type of scenarios are like that. Because, you know, in Atlanta, we have concrete cowboys too. They ride up and down Camp Creek Parkway. Mm-hmm. It's like, I would be interesting to know what their story is. I'm sure their living conditions aren't like they were, you know, back then. I'm assuming that they probably have stables, like real stables, real legit now. But Method Man.
Oh, I forgot about Method Man. Oh my God.
Method Man.
Method Man.
Method Man. When I tell you, he is my Method Man.
We may have to fight over that.
Okay. He is, I mean, there are very few rappers that transition into acting that really nail it. Him, Queen Latifah are my top two. You know, then there's LL, right? But I mean, Method Man, he can play any role, and I love that he plays good guy roles. He doesn't play, you know, bad guy roles, you know? And then, so that must have been an interesting position for him to be in a lot of times, because he grew up with them, but now he's the popo, right? So when they capture all of the horses and they go to steal them, I was thinking, obviously they're gonna know that it was you came to get your horse. But when he said, we're gonna let all of them go, this is the plan, right? We're gonna let all of them go, and then yours, you just happen to find yours, right? I was like, that's what I'm talking about. Being a team player. And, you know, like I said, that must have been very difficult for him. He knows that they can't do better because they don't have the funds to do it. But he knows that they're not doing a bad thing. So he's like, I'm gonna help him out any way I can. So I love that. I think Method Man was perfect for that role.
So Concrete Cowboy is on Netflix. It stars Idris Elba. Not even gonna say anything else. He gets 5 sips all day, every day.
Every day.
Caleb McLaughlin, who was on Stranger Things. So he's a child actor, and it's good to see him now transition into more serious roles. Lorraine Toussaint, another actor we need to give our flowers to, because that sister girl has been around for a long time, and she's so good. Jarrell Jerome, who played the drug dealer, he was from When They See Us. He won I guess it was the Emmy a couple years ago.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, he was in When They See Us about the Central Park 5.
I knew his face looked familiar. Okay.
Yeah, and then how can I forget my baby daddy, Method Man?
Hey! Those are fighting words.
I mean,
I Method. I'll have Mr. Elba to
well,
myself.
I enjoyed
him yourself, you and his wife.
Right.
I'm really okay with that.
I enjoyed the verses with him and Redman. If you didn't watch it, all I'm gonna say is he had on some sweatpants. That's all I'm gonna say.
Wait, Snoop had on some sweatpants too.
That's all I'm gonna say.
All
but
right.
that was a really good verses if you want to go back and watch a good, especially being from New York and being a big hip hop head. I enjoyed that, and all the cameos that came out. I'm not even gonna name it because that's a whole nother show. But anyway, like you said, Alicia, it's based on a true story about an urban cowboy group, Fletcher Street, in Philly. And I mean, blown away that at the end, the big surprise was that most of the writing people in the movie were just people from that stable. I mean, like, I would have thought they were real actors. Like, unbelievable, blown away. It was a very real, gritty, urban tale. Typical, you know, son is getting in trouble, mother doesn't know what to do, ships him off to the father. Cracking up, like you said, the horse was living in the house. I said, oh my God, it has to like smell to high hell in that house with the horse living in the living room. But just typical coming of age, urban story. You come home, you find your boy from around the way. He's now the drug dealer. You kind of knew, okay, he's gonna get killed. That was, that wasn't a big surprise when he got murdered. It was kind of upsetting the way it happened, but I really enjoyed the bond that the father and son grew through the horses, the horse riding, and the lessons, all the lessons that he taught his son. Could have ended a little differently to me, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. So I'm gonna give it 4 sips.
I'm gonna give it 5 sips.
Okay. I'm a 5, yeah. I enjoyed it.
Cool.
I'm gonna give it 5 sips, and I'm gonna take 5 sips in my Chix and Flix cup.
Exactly. So the next movie we're going to talk about is WeWork, and it has a long full title. WeWork, or the making and breaking of a $47 billion, not million, $billion unicorn. It is on Hulu. It's a documentary. If you're living under a rock, and if you're living in a major city, you have to know about WeWork. They're everywhere. I don't even know how many we have in Atlanta. I've been to 1 or 2 of them. It's very cult-like. They burn through the cash like water. I don't even think they had a concrete business plan, but it was supposed to be this utopian type. You work, live, play, eat, everything was their dream, their vision. But because they were very irresponsible, and it was like a very frat white boy culture, they ended up crashing and burning. Even though WeWork is still around, they were saved by SoftBank. A Japanese investor came in. But it was very hard to tell, and putting my business hat on, was it a real estate company? Was it, meant to just be an ecosystem and a culture that they were trying to build for the world? And they even wanted to build a school because the founder's wife was starting a school. But typical, golden parachute, the founder got millions of dollars to leave the company because it is still running to this day. But we'll see what wonky idea he comes up with next and see if people buy into it. But interestingly enough, I have a personal connection to WeWork. My stepfather's grandson works for WeWork in New York, and he has survived, I don't know how many layoffs they've had through WeWork because the burning through the money. But to this day, he still works for WeWork. So God bless him. He loves working there. He has learned a lot. And so, if you're into this kind of thing, a documentary and, this type of thing, it was something different to watch. And I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
So, Alicia.
Yeah. And to be the exact figure that Adam McGill walked away, he got a $1.7 billion payout to step down.
Wow.
I thought
they really wanted to get rid of him, huh?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. But, he did his pre-signing agreement. He knew what he was doing. I thought he was like a crazy person. I really did.
Yeah.
I love WeWork. I love the whole concept. I remember when I can remember I had a friend who had an office. They even mentioned it in the movie, in the Regis suite.
Mm-hmm.
It was I thought back then, I was like, oh my God, this is cool. So I can remember going to an opening of a WeWork in Buckhead since I've been here. But, I'm into the whole concept, but it was very cultish. I remember when they were interviewing the guy, about the big retreat thing that they did every year. It was so like they said, a bar every 5 steps. It was just drinking and music. And he was like, I just kind of don't want to go. But they actually had tracking devices on them to make sure that they, trust me, they had like the seminars during the day. I'm sure they were productive during the day. But that would be some event. If I worked for WeWork, I would be like, I can't go to this again. It was just so not very diversified. I can remember I loved hearing them interview the African American attorney. You remember they were having like
Oh yes.
something, and this guy came up to him and said, "Brother, is this a cult?" And that's what I really felt like it was, especially when they were interviewing the people who lived in the We Live space,
Mm-hmm.
and how they really just didn't really like leave the space. It was just very brainwashing and cultish to me. And somebody said this in the movie. He was basically selling the coolness, and I'm with you. Did he ever have a business plan? It was just like every time you heard him speak, I was like, is anybody in this audience just going, it was just almost just way too zen, way too, it's like, no, give me some numbers. You know, they were talking about how people took a lesser salary and they were getting like stock options. But the way that the attorney was explaining it, it's like, this doesn't mean what you really think it means. It means that you have an extra $2,000. So yeah, I thought he was just very weird, very into himself. I feel like he had like these God-like tendencies. And I was like, I wouldn't have survived working at WeWork, dealing with that.
Right.
Overall, documentary was a very interesting documentary. The rise and the fall. And I can't believe that the person you mentioned has survived, because initially they had 6,000 layoffs alone in New York. But I think it was a thing where he didn't have a plan. They grew too fast. And I think greed kind of took over. Like, you know, they were mentioning, he was saying, oh, y'all need to double up. Everybody doesn't need a corner office. But he had like this, you know, spread of an office, you know, bought a multi-million-dollar private jet, you know, so he really wasn't practicing what he was preaching. Yeah, if I could tell you that is a person who I knew nothing about, and I don't like him. Like, before documentary, I thought it was well done. I thought it was very.
It almost reminds you of the fire. Him and the fire festival guy.
Yeah.
Kind of like that same mentality, that white privilege. I know what I'm doing, but I don't know what I'm doing. But people are just throwing cash at him, and it's just ridiculous.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. But the concept, you know, there are many like it. So it was fortunate for him that he was able to be a trailblazer, you know, because there are a ton of, you know, of those workspaces. And it just built on, like you said, initially they had the Regis, the one back in the days, like that was like probably one of the first ones. And if they had only said, well, let me add some food, or let me add a bar, or, you know what I mean? Let me just tweak my business plan a little. I'm not mad at him. He didn't need to have a business plan. It was already proven. He just improved on it. He just put it on steroids and made his money and left. Isn't that what you go into business for, to make money? I would love to start a business and somebody pay me $1.3 billion to get out. Bye. Deuces. Say about me what you want.
That was his plan all along, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Say what you want. Yeah, I'm out.
How many WeWorks are in New York alone? Like, he like went in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So I don't know. I would probably give it for a documentary.
I give it 3 sips.
Me too.
I give it 4.
3 sips.
But it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Very
3
interesting.
sips.
This is the part of the show where we highlight a business. And what better business to highlight, since we just talked about WeWork, the WeWork documentary. We're going to spotlight The Gathering Spot. Which, yes, Gathering Spot is a Black-owned, similar to WeWork, but I think much better. Much cooler. Ecosystem started here in the Atlanta area, and they just literally expanded to DC. I want to say like a month, like they officially opened it a month ago. Ron and I were supposed to get on a private plane and fly to DC for the grand opening, but COVID had other plans. But anyway,
Right.
two young brothers, Ryan Wilson and TK Peterson, Georgetown friends, started this idea in their dorm room, and has come to life. But it's so much more better than WeWork in terms of the way they laid out their vision. It's event space. It's a restaurant. There's co-working. There's a podcast recording studio. And it's black, and it's all black. And Rhonda and I are members. I think Alicia, at one point, you were a member as well. But just a great place to network and socialize.
It's not all
really
black.
dope. No, you're right.
But it's a diverse. It's a diverse community. The culture is amazing. An ideal space for creatives, but also ideal space for the uber professional. It's kind of like where they collide. You know what I mean? So it's never unusual to see someone, an older white man in a suit and tie with a young black guy in jeans, and they're on the same level, just different industries, and vibing and making it happen. And it's that type of culture, that type of environment that makes it so inviting. That people are beating down the doors to join, but guess what? It's a members only spot. So if you want to visit, reach out to Kim or I, and we will be happy to invite you to the gathering spot as our guest.
Yeah, and can I just
exactly
touch on Ryan again? I've been knowing him since he was a little boy. He's the godson of a very good friend of mine, Danny Pruitt. And just fast forward to during COVID, we have all Zoom, what we call Super Friday lunches, where we have speakers. He was actually one of our speakers last year. If I tell you that young man held his own, I feel like some very tough questions were thrown at him. And I feel like he gave some very thorough, I'm going to keep it real, but professional answers. And just seeing him doing this, I'm just so proud of him. Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Great spot. Yeah.
And the cool thing about it is, it being here in Atlanta, I haven't been to the one in DC yet, but I'm looking forward to checking it out, is you could be chilling, Rhonda and I could be chilling in the restaurant working, and T.I. could walk by, who's a member. It's just like you just see the whole Andrew, right. You see that Will Packer, you just see the whole juxtaposition of everybody in Atlanta wants to be a part of this group, this membership.
And he pulled in some heavy hitters when it comes to speakers and stuff like that.
Yeah, they do great events, and they curate great things, and they even kept it going during COVID. They really, and even though we couldn't physically go to the gathering spot to work or network or eat, they were having very great curated events. I attended a wine class and different things. It was just really, they just do a really thorough, they think through everything.
This was amazing, an amazing show. Until our next recording, stay cued.
Stay tuned.